thank you so much for coming on to chat with me. I would love to know, are you well actually?
Am I well? Actually, I think so. In the deepest sense of the word, yes. Because who am I if I'm trying to understand who am I actually? And am I well actually? Well, in the deepest sense of the word, yes. Because yeah, I feel that my soul is well because I'm engaging in practices that I think really do make me happy. And externally, I could be better. Like on the material platform, I could be way better. But I think that relying on the material platform alone is a it's always fluctuating, and so it's difficult to be well actually materially speaking. But yeah, I'm well actually, if that makes sense.
Good. So yeah, I love that. So because I think a lot of people do go in at, as you say, the material level. How do they look or what
Yeah.
they have, but actually, you can. I guess one can like want to acquire all these things, but then once you've got it, you're always on to the next thing because usually that's a sign that, as you say, the soul isn't actually well.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
can
I
you?
mean,
Yeah,
go
sorry.
on.
Oh, I was just going to ask how, if you can describe it. I mean, I'm sure it's a very big description, but how would you define soul wellness?
Soul wellness. Yeah. I mean, it's described in the Vedic tradition. Um, what is the soul? And so it's described that the soul is born of three qualities. It is eternal, so it never dies.
Mhm.
It is full of inner knowing, so it knows already everything. Sometimes you'll come across a piece of knowledge, and sometimes it feels innately like you're just remembering it. It's not you're relearning some. I mean, you're not learning something new, but it's already been there. And the third quality of the soul is that it's always happy, blissful.
Mm.
So Sat, Chid, Ananda. It's these are the three qualities of the soul, and so soul wellness really is to do with feeding, or rather nourishing yourself based on this definition. That am I doing something that is eternal? Am I doing something that is going to fulfill my eternal wellness? Is it going to fulfill my deeper search of knowing?
Hmm.
Is it going to fulfill that burning sensation of why am I here? Like understanding the core principle of why I'm here. And finally, is it something that makes me um my soul happy? Does it
Hmm.
make my soul happy? And I think that sometimes that can be a little, what's the word, esoteric, or a little fairy talk, a little woo woo. Yes, make your soul happy. But I think it's very clear, because if we understand that the soul is made of spirit, it's not made of matter, like my mouse here, made out of matter.
Hmm. Hmm.
But the soul is made out of spirit, and spirit is consciousness, and spirit is yeah, it's spiritual. It's not of this world. It's transcendental to this world. So then, um, what activities are consisted of that? What activities are spiritual that can fulfill my soul? So that's soul wellness.
I love that. That's a beautiful description. Thank you. And do you feel as though you've always had have you always been well in your soul, or has there been a journey to arrive
Oof,
here?
I'll get into the yeah. I mean, it's definitely been a journey. I was not definitely. I mean, I can definitely say I wasn't at all in any shape or form a spiritualist as a teenager. Those who know me from my teenage years know me as a party boy, someone that had nothing to do with anything spiritual. And I think that was the process that was necessary for me to discover that that life didn't really make me happy, or that life didn't fulfill me. I think it's necessary to go through, because I think sometimes as spiritualists, or people that are aspiring for spiritual joy or spiritual happiness, we can sometimes discount, or even be rude to people that aren't on the same path as us, because yeah, it can be we can become forgetful that we were also on a journey of sorts. We were on a journey of self-discovery. And so yeah, I mean, it all kind of came to a head when one day I came home and my mum was doing some Hindu rituals, and I had a bit of a fit saying, what's the point? You're just going around in circles with a flame, and what was the whole point of all of this?
Mm.
And so we had a heated argument in which she told me, well, if I just don't know the answers, go to the temple and ask someone. And so that's exactly what I did. I went to the temple. I don't remember a damn thing that was said in the question and answer exchange, but I just remember feeling like this was a place where I could ask questions. And I mean, it took me years and years before I started practicing anything. But I think that having the humility to ask the question of why, or um, just being a little thoughtful, taking a step back from the painting of life,
Mm.
and just stepping back like an artist steps back regularly from their piece of work, just to see, where do I need to move the brush, or where do I need to not touch it at all. I think that most of us don't really grow through life. We just go through it. Just this is the timetable of life. In your 20s, you need to get a degree. In your 30s, you need to find a partner. In your 40s, you need to be well established in a job and have kids. Da 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 da. But at what point do we stop and go, what is the meaning of this all? So
Hmm.
um, yeah, it started with a young age. Why are we doing like this? What's the purpose of it all? And yeah, I think it's a journey which it comes for everyone at different points in their life. It's not that it has to happen now, but I think it comes a time for everyone where the superfluous nature of life, like everything is just so extra, non
Yeah.
needed, that becomes obvious for everyone at some point or another.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that. And do you find that in your own practice, you almost find there are more questions, the
Oh
more
yeah,
you know?
yeah, totally, totally. It's described like this. It's like the amount of knowledge that one can acquire in this lifetime is akin to the water that's contained within the hoof print of a cow, a little calf, sorry.
Oh,
Now, if you just imagine a little calf, baby little calf, makes a hoof print in the mud, and a small amount of water surfaces there comparative to the ocean. It's a tiny amount of water. And so it's almost joyful not to know the answers to everything, you know.
yes, I agree. I
I
agree.
think that knowing everything makes one cold-hearted,
Hmm.
because you can just be like, oh yeah, I already know that, like, don't talk to me, I already know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
being ever the inquirer, ever the discoverer, I think that there's a joy to that. I think there's a freshness of life that comes from that.
I agree. I agree. And you are an incredible Kirtaneer. Is that what we would call it? A Kirtaneer?
Yeah,
I've heard that
Kirtan,
term.
yeah.
Leader of Kirtan, which is quite strongly rooted in the Bhakti tradition. Could you tell us a little bit about how you came to that tradition, what it's
Mm.
about, if you can? I know it's quite a big, big
Yeah, that's a
topic
big.
there.
Yeah, I mean, bhakti can be translated in many different ways. Most commonly, it's translated as loving devotion towards a deity, towards God, towards divinity. I like to use this example. I've got a pen and paper here.
Mm,
Give me a minute.
no.
All right. Forgive my drawing if it doesn't look like what it's meant to, but you can see here
Oh, yeah.
three hearts, concentric hearts, right?
Yes. Yes.
One within the other.
Hmm.
Now, bhakti for me has been described by my teacher as like this: do something. That's the first heart. Every single person has to act in this world. We have to eat, we have to sleep, we have to, go out and work. There has to be some activity. No one can sit in a cave forever. That even the person who sits in a cave has to eat something eventually.
Yes.
Uh, so do something for higher purpose. This is also common because people will say, yeah, do philanthropy, do charitable works, use your time to serve the world, etc. So that's the second layer. Do something for higher purpose, or even if you want to take it even a step further, do something for divinity, for God,
Sure.
something for higher purpose, let's
Yes.
call it, for those that are maybe not so into the G word. Do something for higher purpose. And then in the last heart, this is where the bhakti thing comes in, which is in a favorable mood, in
In
a
a,
favorable mood.
I love that.
So if you're doing something, yes, you might be doing something charitable, but that charitable act is only bhakti when it's done in a favorable, loving way. You may
Mm.
even be giving, for example, you'll see in the temples of bhakti, there'll be a deity on the altar. There'll be a priest who's offering something doing something, right? Offering a plate of food or offering an aratik, a lamp or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they'll be doing it for higher purpose because they're doing it in a temple, etc. But then the last heart is the most important, in a favorable mood. If you're doing it lovingly, then that's what activates what is known as the bhakti zone. You're really in the moment. You could be singing kirtan, for example, but if you're not doing it with that loving mood of trying to approach divinity with love and care and attention, then it's not complete. Basically, it's just surface level. And so that path for me became more and more awakened, or is still awakening, but it was first kind of, yeah, placed before me at a tender age of, must be what, 15 or 16 years old.
Sure.
And I went on a retreat that was facilitated by a bhakti group. And I remember I was breaking up, well, rather my wife at the time was girlfriend. She broke up with me, and I thought I need a break. I need to get away from all of this in my head. And I thought, well, yeah, these monks seem nice, so let me just go check that out.
Hmm.
That's a whole story in itself, how I actually got on that trip. But otherwise, I think we'll probably be here for like half an hour. Um, but yeah, I went on the trip, sat in a kirtan, and sat at the back of the room because I was like, this is weird, like anyone that's been to a kirtan, especially their first experience, can be quite bewildering. Because
Right.
like, wow, they're chanting like Indian mantras, or like this is foreign language. Are they just, doing some voodoo or brainwashing or something? And so it was super trippy. I was like sitting at the back of the room watching these people chanting and eventually dancing. And I was like, this is weird, like I just couldn't get into it. And so if I'm honest, my first kirtan experience, my first bhakti experience, I remember just miming. I was like, yeah, okay, I don't want to look weird myself because they're all weird, but I don't want to look weird amongst the weirdos. So let me just mime along. So I was like miming along to the mantras and swaying a little bit. And then before you know it, I'm like getting fully stuck in, dancing like a crazy man. And I came away from that experience thinking, yes, it was weird, but damn, did it awaken some happiness? Did it just
Um,
enliven me in a way that, nothing else has? And so I just inquired more and more. I asked the whys, I asked the whats and hows and whos, and slowly over 15, now what, almost 20 years of doing that. Um, yeah, I guess this has become my life.
yeah. Oh, that's amazing. It does just get you, doesn't it? Even if you're,
Mm.
even if I imagine the most skeptical person could come in. What do you know the sort of physiological thing that happens when we chant?
Yeah, I mean, I think I know very little about it, but I know that sound has deep impressions on all three layers: the gross body,
Hmm.
the subtle body, which is the mind, intelligence, the ego, and then the soul. So these three layers are there. And on the physical level, my understanding is that the sonic vibrations. I mean, even let's not go into too much science, but for an ordinary listener, someone who's just exploring this, just think about the last time you listened to music which was touching to the heart, or music that you use at the gym, or music that you use when you're, I don't know, going for a stroll in the woods. It's different types of different genres of music can facilitate different emotions, can facilitate different memories, can
Mm.
facilitate different levels of awareness. Like you can be completely bombarded by, I don't know, being in an airport. I'm in airports all the time, and so many people rushing here and there. Some people shouting on this side, some people like kissing on that side, and some people hugging and crying and missing each other on that side. And some people are, you know, doing all sorts in an airport, but you just put your headphones in and you're listening to something. You could be in a completely different world. And so on the gross level, you're just transported. The sonic vibrations um, can stimulate the nervous system to being much more relaxed, to being more energetic, perhaps if you need to be in that zone. And
Mm.
so sound vibration is something that, even if you're not interested in the science, can really affect your consciousness, can affect your awareness and your mood. And so if you just take that principle, that how sound affects your mood, your consciousness, your awareness,
Mm.
then imagine the effects of sound vibration that can transform not only the material body, but the subtle body, which is the mind, intelligence, ego, and then even the soul. And
Mm.
so that's the way it works. It kind of pierces through the layers, sacred sound.
Yes. Yeah. That's yeah. It's so true. I
And
and
you're a singer too, so you
yeah.
should
Well,
maybe you have.
I it was a I found when I came started coming to Kirtan, it was quite a
Yeah.
easy landing for me because I love music and I love so I'm already quite tuned in that way. But what really interests me is when I start, and I want to ask you about this because we chant to deities, and usually in your kirtans it's a lot of Krishna.
Hmm.
Is it the even if the person chanting was not to understand the words, it's does the meaning of it go in even if you don't kind of
Yeah.
cognitively get it?
Yeah, definitely. That's a really good question. Yeah, I mean, mm, I think that we are really impressionable beings. Like you could just walk down a high street and hear something like, I don't know, an advert playing from someone's car on the radio,
Yeah.
and that will just really get stuck in your mind even if you don't know what the advert's about. You just hear the jingle and it gets stuck, and
Mhm.
it'll bring about another memory or another something in the mind that's there somewhere deep down. And yeah, the power of sound is such that even if, especially with mantra, actually, especially with mantra, it has this amazing ability um, to touch the soul, touch the heart of even those that don't know what's going on, because of the principle that we spoke about earlier, which is that it's not a material sound, it's a spiritual sound. And so therefore it's touching the essence of us. And so
Mm.
even if you're not participating, like sometimes in kirtan, I'll see someone will sit there or lie down or just like hang
Husband.
out. Yeah, I saw him doing that like last Friday. So just hanging out in the kirtan. But the thing is that I don't have a problem with that because I know something is happening that's way deeper than what it looks like on the surface.
Okay.
And so you may have no clue what's going on, but many people have come to me at the end of a hearing and said, I felt like I was at home. Like I
Oh.
felt there was a feeling or a sense of feeling I'm safe, I'm held, I'm being embraced by something that just feels really familiar. It's because it's like, taking a car and filling the car with a fuel that doesn't belong there. Like you feel, I mean, sometimes people make mistakes of filling diesel in petrol cars, especially
Mm.
on rental holidays. You just make a mistake.
Mhm.
I've been there, done that. But the car won't run; it won't nourish us. And I think that the issue that faces us in the material world is we live in a world of mass distraction,
Yes.
a world where we're just distracted by so many different items. If I just get this mobile phone, that will solve all my problems, or if I just get this partner that looks like this and speaks like that, and that will solve all my problems. But the issue is trying to fit something that isn't fitting into the divine shaped hole within the heart. You're trying to, just fit something that doesn't belong.
Mm.
And that's why like the process of chanting and kirtan and mantra, um, that's why it's so powerful, because it fills a void which many people are searching in the most unnatural places for.
It does. I can attest to that. I remember the first kirtan of yours I came to, and the following day I really felt it. And I actually just felt like I wanted to cry, but not in a sad
Mm,
way. I just felt very moved by very little things. And it was a real, and it can release things as well, I suppose, as well
yeah,
as fill you up. So
yeah,
yeah, that was I remember I'll never forget that experience. I was walking around, I was like, why do I want to cry? And I realized I'd done that very powerful
yeah.
Kirtan with you.
Mm. And
Um,
it's not to say that that will happen every time. Like some
no.
people will come and just feel nothing, and that's okay. And it's just a case of understanding that, um, yeah, we come with so much baggage all the time and so many different thoughts and so many different emotions. When we come down to even like anyone that's meditated, for example, or anyone that's done any sort of yoga asana, I know
Mm,
you're a teacher of yoga,
mm,
and so anyone that's done that, no two sessions are the same, no two practices are the same. And it's because we're different every day, even though we think that, no, I'm the same person. Realistically, if you think about it, every day you're almost a different person based on your diet, based on your sleep pattern, based on the way that your partner speaks to you, even
mm,
based on the hormones in the body. There's so many different variables.
mm,
And so yeah, I mean, I'm always saying to people, if you didn't feel any connection tonight in tonight's kirtan, that's okay. Just
mm.
feel invited, feel welcome, feel at home to come again and try it out. Because maybe the next time you may feel that this is something that really connects deeply.
Yeah. Do
But
you
leave the door
find
open.
people get a little addicted to the feeling and are looking for the same feeling and then they get disappointed or
Oh yeah, for
yeah.
sure. And that's kind of a big lesson, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
um, anything that's worth doing in this world is think about it, just contemplate. Anything worth doing in this world is always a little bit poisonous at the beginning and nectar at the end. And anything that is not really worth doing long term is nectar at the beginning and slowly tastes like poison towards the end. And so this sounds like counterintuitive to what I just spoke about, that some people have a deeply profound experience the first time, but those people are very few that come to Kirtan that have a deeply profound experience.
Yeah.
A lot of people are kind of like, this is nice. I feel there's something there, but don't go fully to the depths of the practice. They maybe remain on the first two hearts level.
Yes.
They're, just doing something. It's nice singing. Yeah, I like to sing. I like the music. It's higher purpose. Yeah, I can really connect with that. But then the favorable, loving mood, that takes time to develop. And so, yeah, it's very much so that some people will come at the end of the kirtan and say, yeah, that, I actually brought up some dark feelings or things that, I didn't expect. And it's because, you're taking a glass of water that's got years and years and lifetimes of impressions, and you're just stirring them up, like taking this pen into a muddy water, just going like this. Some
Absolutely.
things become clarified and some things become even darker. You're like, oh my God, like, but to not address them is also like deeply dangerous, because you're just going through life almost ignorantly. Like, I don't care, it's fine, whatever's there is there. I'll figure it out. But the end of life, which is going to come for all of us, maybe we will sit with that and think, I wish I'd gone a little further into discovering what is behind the thin curtain.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I love what you said about things that can start off feeling like poison do become. I totally agree.
Mm,
Every worthwhile experience I've had in life is probably could fit into that description. So
yeah.
I really relate to that.
Yeah,
Um,
there's always a little bit of something, right? Like there's always
yeah.
like, you'll see a little crack and you'll see the light pouring through, and you're like, okay, this is nice, but okay, let me choose another analogy. It's like looking at the moon in the sky.
Mm,
You can either choose to look at all of the darkness surrounding the moon, all the black night sky, the dark night sky, or you can choose to look at the moon and to focus your attention on the moon. And
mm,
in the same way, with anything that's worth doing, you can see there's a little glimpse. The moon is there, yes, shining brightly, but you can choose to go, oh no, it's all about the dark night sky. But the more you kind of realize that the moon is the focus and
mm.
you zero your attention in there, then over some time you'll start to recognize the beauty, like even the rabbit that's in the moon, the famous rabbit that
Yeah, yeah,
everyone
yeah,
seems
yeah,
to
yeah,
see,
yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
the
That's
nectar in
great.
the end.
Yeah, that's a great description.
Mm.
I wanted to ask you a little bit, if you don't mind sharing, what are your kind of daily or regular non-negotiables for your spiritual wellness that you
Hmm.
keep up without fail, or at least try to without fail?
Oh, without fail, I'm failing on a daily basis.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, what is that I do daily? I just finished reading for an hour. That's why I was a little untimely with this podcast.
Yeah.
That's a non-negotiable. I spend every day reading from the scripture. I like to read from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is like the postgraduate study of Bhakti Yoga. And every day I chant for a period of time. So I have a mala,
Mm-hmm.
which has 108 beads on it. And I've taken a vow in my sacred initiation into the Bhakti tradition to chant 16 rounds of mantra on that mala. And don't feel impressed, because most of the time it's very distracted. I'm thinking about all the things of the day. I'm thinking about when will this be over? I'm thinking about it's some mostly inattentive, but maybe there'll be one name in the thousands and thousands that I chant that lands. And it's not that I'm looking for that feeling. It's I'm looking for that one moment where nothing else matters apart from that connection.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for love. That's what I'm
Wow.
trying to do. When I'm chanting, I'm looking for love. I'm searching for that most sacred love, which is the innermost yearning of the heart.
Mm,
Um, that's what, in my opinion, life is all about, to be loved and to be loving.
yeah. And I think that's such a great, thing to say about daily practice, about a kind of like a sadhana almost, is it doesn't have to be perfect, but
Mm,
it's just about doing it, isn't it? So even if it doesn't
yeah,
make sense when you're doing it, it's just the regularity, the repetition, and I guess that could be kind of a service, right? Could that
yeah,
come under service or?
yeah. Having a
Yeah.
daily service for yourself, I
Mm,
think that a daily practice is it's something that most people don't realize that they're doing anyway. Like a daily practice could be just having your morning coffee. It's
totally.
just like it's a daily thing, that your daily ritual. I
Mhm.
know one of my friends, Mira Manik, she's written a book on rituals, and I spoke to her about it, and she said that, yeah, everyone's got rituals. They just don't realize sometimes that it is a ritual. You can call it a habit even.
Mm,
But what makes something spiritual is when you add the higher purpose, when you add a loving mood to it.
mm.
That's what makes it spiritual. Otherwise, you can have any rituals. You can have, I wake up and I look at my phone first thing in the morning, and that's every single day, that
Yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah.
remembered since I got a phone.
Yeah.
Um, and even that, even the practice of making coffee, you're not going to make the perfect coffee every single day. It's a practice. It's a
Yeah.
ritual.
Yeah. Yeah. Or even brushing your teeth.
Brushing your teeth. The difference is that we don't give ourselves choices about those things,
Yeah.
because we feel that those things we are deeply in need of. Like, I need to brush my teeth. Who's going to negotiate about brushing their teeth?
Yeah. Hopefully
All
not.
right. Hopefully not. Um, but with sadhana, with having a spiritual practice, we negotiate with it all the time, because we don't see the benefit immediately.
Yeah.
And that's why, journaling, even though it's become popular recently, it's something that's deeply ingrained in the scripture. Like,
Mm.
ev- get this, every fortnight, there's a day that's according to the lunar calendar,
Mhm.
that spiritualists should take that time out to deeply contemplate what is going on in their journey of life, in their journey of
Mm.
spirituality, in their journey of discovery.
Mhm.
And not stepping back and thinking about it at all. I think that now that I do it, I'm like, wow, it's ludicrous what my life would have been like without doing some sort of just stepping back.
Yeah.
And I think that people do it somewhat unconsciously when they say, I need a holiday.
Yeah.
When you need a holiday, it means that you've come to the point where you're like, I need to just step back from everything.
Totally.
Um, but I think one thing that sustains me is, like, yes, the sadhana sustains me, having a spiritual practice sustains me. But what really sustains me is stepping back that fortnight, every fortnight, and yeah, just sitting with my thoughts and just going, like, where's my life really going?
Mhm.
Okay, so 2 weeks have gone. What's really happening? So that day, I just cut off from the world. I don't switch my phone on. I'm trying to not be engaged with everyone, and that's really important. I think.
I
I think that's
agree.
really important.
Yeah. And that's doing that might sound so scary to many people
Yeah,
listening, but it's so needed
yeah,
to just
yeah.
disconnect
Even
from.
if it's not on the day itself, like on the actual like calendar day, just
Yeah.
like choose a day that works for you. You know,
Totally. Yeah.
choose a day that works for you. And it's not that you don't have to work that day. It's not that you don't have to have all your responsibilities. It's just carve out like 20 minutes and just say, this day, even just stick it in the calendar, forget about it for 2 weeks. And when it pops up, just say, okay, I need to fill 20 minutes, even if it's just before bed. Where's my life going? What am I
Mm,
doing?
mm,
What
mhm.
do I, how do I want to raise my children? Am I raising my children lovingly enough?
Yeah.
Otherwise, what happens is you build up all these feelings and emotions, and all these frustrations build up until a point where you just hit crisis point,
Totally.
and then you do something about it. So it's
And
a
by then,
non-negotiable.
yeah, and by then it's just accumulated and become much harder to handle
Yeah.
anyway. So it's those two. So you think a two weekly sort of check-in is a good.
Yeah, I think so. That kind of works.
Mm,
Yeah. Eddie Stern said something really cool. I went to New York maybe 3 weeks ago, and he said something really cool. Um, he said that he's practicing yoga right now for his 80s and 90s.
love that.
So like, he's practicing so that he can sustain his life in his 80s and 90s. He's not practicing so that he can show off moves. He's not practicing so that people will like be like, wow, Eddie, you can do this and that asana. But he's doing it so that he can sustain his life. And I think that sometimes we negotiate on the things that sustain our lives.
Yes,
We
so
sometimes
true.
negotiate. and say,
Yeah,
no, no, it's not important. It's only important when you get a disease. It's only important when you know you have little time left. But I
totally.
think sometimes we have to just keep those things on. It sounds morbid, but I try to actually think about death often. It
Mhm.
sounds morbid, but it's not for me. I've kind of come to terms with it that I'm gonna die one day.
Yeah.
And so the time I've got is limited and fine. What am I gonna do with it?
I think it's also your understanding of the soul being eternal that maybe allows
Yeah,
you
that
to,
gives me a lot of peace.
yeah, 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 to understand that.
Yeah.
Um, just kind of slightly pivoting away from
Let's
what
do it.
we're about, not massively. Do you ever see things in sort of the wider wellness space that give you cause for concern? Maybe it could be like an appropriation of certain spiritual practices, that kind of thing, and or just
Mm.
anything, or like even a broader concept that you think people might be drawn to, but it's actually possibly quite harmful. Um,
Yeah, I mean, here's one sentence for you. I am of the belief that yoga is Hindu.
mhm.
And I think that we have it's not that it upsets me or I don't get like really riled up about it. I know some people really do,
Yeah.
but it doesn't upset me so much. But it's something that I think needs to be reestablished, which is that this practice of wellness or the not including maybe new age things,
Mm.
but I think that a lot of it is based in Vedic culture. Like
Yes.
Ayurveda, for example, has become the new kind of like the way that you eat. Is it Ayurvedic? Is it according to your dosha? And I
Mhm.
think that that's really powerful. But I think that what is the purpose of it all? Like, what is the purpose of following an Ayurvedic diet? What's the purpose of the asanas? What's the purpose of? I think that that needs to be maybe brought a little more to the forefront. I don't think it ever will. And I know that some campaigners may feel hurt by when I say that because it it sounds a little pessimistic. But I think that the material world has a way of always perverting things.
Yeah.
Like the Gita talks about it in the what chapter? I think it's either the 12th or the 14th or something like that chapter.
Mhm.
Talks about how the world is like a reflection of a banyan tree. So say if you've got a tree,
Mm.
you've got a body of water,
Mhm.
this is the spiritual world, like everything is like really clear, defined. Then the material world is like an upside down, it's described as urdhva mula, upside down, perverted, slightly, it's there. You can see some symptoms of like, yeah, this can be spiritual, but on the whole, it's like it's a hazy reflection. And so I don't think that we can change um yeah, I don't think we can change that. I think there's always going to be things that will always remain. Like, for example, I think discrimination will always remain. It's even though it doesn't mean that we have to be discriminatory. We don't have to be racist. We don't have to be murderers and rapists, but that will always exist in the material world.
Yeah.
A utopia is, according to the Vedic scriptures anyway, like the Gita and the Bhagavatam, that will never exist in this material world
Mm.
because this is a place of education. That's what it's described as. It's a
Wow.
place where we don't go, why is this happening to me? It's a place where we go, what is this trying to teach me?
Yeah.
And so, yes, I do see a lot of things in the wellness world that when you know where it comes from and when you've read about it or like you've studied from other teachers about the source of all these things, then it is very, very interesting how perverted things can become, like very lycra and, for example, a lot of flesh showing. And, these things are not so much there in the culture. It's tolerable. You're like, okay, this is the material world. What you're going to do? At least they're practicing. No, at
Mm.
least they're on a journey of wellness. That you feel that that should be maybe the right motive. So it doesn't really anger me. It makes me more and more, if I'm honest, more and more joyful that yeah, at least it's happening. You know, even though maybe they don't know the source of everything, that's okay. Not everyone's going to be a student of the Vedic science. Not everyone's going to want to read lots and lots. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. What do you reckon? How do you feel about it? Because this, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, well, I went to my mum took me to my first yoga class when I was 14. So it's quite,
Mm-hmm.
quite a long time ago. And it was just, I reckon, just before yoga sort of started blowing up, if you like, in the UK at least.
Mm-hmm.
I went, it was an Ashtanga class. The teacher did, we did like recitations and things. And I didn't necessarily, I wasn't rigidly practicing from age 14 because I just wasn't that disciplined.
Oh yeah, I
But
mean,
like every time I'd go to a class in the early stages, it was always deeply like philosophy based, I felt. And I've always just naturally had I'm probably more, I'm more likely to study than I am to physically practice. I'll be completely honest about that. I can get a little bit lazy with my asana, and that's fine. But like,
yeah.
so for me, I'm a naturally very curious person, and the more I've gone into philosophy, and I'm like scratching the surface, of course, there's so much to go into, but I just don't know how personally how people can't get into it, because it just elevates, your practice, whatever type of
Mm,
yoga you're practicing. So for me, I just, yeah, I feel, I think it's really important, I'm a white woman, it's important to respect a tradition that you're effectively borrowing from, and on that level. And then I also just think that, yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't want to know this stuff. It's changed my life and it continues to change my life, and every time I go to, and to your kirtan, when you're speaking at the beginning, I'm just like, ah,
yeah,
everything.
it's not my words.
Yeah, no, but it's oh, oopsie, my mic.
Yeah,
It's but it's coming through you, right? And I
yeah.
that's how I like to think of it. I always say like a little, before I teach, I say a little, a toilet prayer when I go to the loo before I teach. And my little prayer, if you like, is, may yoga come through me rather than from me. Like, do you
Mm,
know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's
mm,
something that I have created, and you know, I might make up a sequence and stuff like that, but ultimately I want it to come through me. So that's how I
yeah.
feel. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's dangerous to like own a practice based on the color of skin.
Yeah.
Like, I think that maybe I'm going to get shocked saying this, and I'm happy to take questions. I'm happy to take questions on it if anyone's got like thoughts on it and wants to send comments and whatnot. Send me an email. I'm happy to try my best at answering my perspective. But I think that we live in such a multicultural world where even in India, when I go to Mumbai, for example, it's really trying hard to be the West. It's
Yeah.
really trying hard. And so I think that it's dangerous for any culture to, or any person in any particular body, especially in today's day and age, unless they're well studied, unless they've really spent time understanding it, unless they, like, for example, have read the Gita cover to cover, like page to page, from, understanding it, studied it, learned from teachers, different lineages. I think it's dangerous to say it's mine just because
Yeah.
I was born in that body. And maybe I'm saying this from the perspective of a brown person but born in the UK, lived my entire life here, so maybe I fully don't understand the appropriation thing, but I think that it's important that we yeah, we don't artificially just say it's mine just because uh I have some habits that are from the Vedic culture, like sitting on the floor and eating with your hand, or like, just because you do that doesn't make you any more of ownership towards a particular practice,
Yeah.
and so I think it works both ways. I think that there's the left and the right, and then I think most of us sit somewhere in the middle. We're like, we appreciate
Totally.
this, we appreciate this, let's sit somewhere in the middle, like let's share. I think that's much nicer than
Yeah.
owning.
Yeah, and like attract, inviting people to understand more, because sometimes some people just haven't had the right teaching or the right training, and they might not know that all of this other stuff exists.
Yeah,
I think
just
I
being
find,
humble. No.
yeah, I find your kirtan's very inclusive in that way. And my husband said that as well, and
Yeah,
he's still a baby in this world, so
that's cool. And the thing is, like, I always want to be someone and try to be someone that is open to learning from someone that's new to the practice as well. Like, I love talking to people, just not because I'm trying to impose them upon my standards of living, and not
yeah,
because I'm trying to convert them to who I want them to be, but I
yeah,
want them to be happily them and want to learn from them. And I think
yeah.
that's a healthy place to go. Like, rather than saying, I know something really well and I'm going to teach you, I'm your teacher. No, let's
Mm.
just be spiritual friends.
Yeah.
No, let's just be spiritual friends where I can learn something from you. You've probably read something way deeper than I have, Elle,
Mm,
and I'm happy to learn from you. I'm happy
mm,
to hear from you. It's
mm.
not my tradition, it's ours.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Oh gosh, amazing. Um,
Mm.
just kind of going a little bit more into, do you, so I always like to ask everyone I have on if there's anything that they do that brings them a sense of wellness that isn't necessarily like a typical wellness thing.
Yeah, I like eating chocolate.
Yeah, good. Me too. Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me feel warm and fuzzy if I'm feeling a bit down, just have a Kit Kat, take a break, you know.
I love that. That's great. So,
Yeah.
yeah, balancing it out. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, I
Awesome.
like, I mean, I like going on long walks, even though it doesn't look like it from my physique. I do really like going on long walks. I've got two friends of mine that midweek we'll just message each other on WhatsApp and say, you down for a walk? And we'll end up walking for like 4 hours. Believe it or not, we'll start at 7 and we won't finish till like 11 o'clock, just going round and round in my area. So I love long walks. I like playing with my youngest daughter. That gives me a lot of joy because right now she's only like 4 months old, so she's not yet screaming and pulling my hair, and you know. So right now I'm very much enjoying that, and yeah, I mean, something that may not sound very typical is I like to travel to meet my spiritual teacher.
Yeah.
I think that keeps me very grounded.
Yeah.
To be around someone that I want to be more like.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
everything that I am, anything good that you see from me, is really my spiritual teacher, and anything bad you see is genuinely it's me. So I like being in his company. He's a nice person.
Oh, that's amazing.
Mhm.
Well, thank you, Radhika. It's been such a pleasure to speak with you.
Oh,
Thank you for sharing so generously with all your amazing knowledge. Can you tell, I mean, for anyone listening, I go to Radhika's Friday night Kirtans at Omnom in Angel, and they are fantastic. They start at 7, don't they? And they
yeah,
are.
7 o'clock.
And do you want to, is there anything else? Is there anywhere else we can find you?
I mean, if you
Lots.
really, I mean, yeah, if you're interested, then just check out radhikadas.com. It's got all the stuff on it. And yeah, I mean, if there's anything that you all as the listeners feel I should be attending and hearing from, I love to learn about spirituality from different traditions, then yeah, drop me a message via the website. And I'd love to just pop in and see what's going on in the world of London and wellness. So yeah,
Thank you so much, Radhika. It's been a pleasure.
thank you, Elle.